yeah, we've got a bad economy. People still run into trouble and lose their homes. But it's cut more in half if you have what we're calling a sustainable modification, one that's less than a third of your income.
Now, let's step back a few steps. I hear around the hallways that there could be some layoffs coming, and I know that I have a big chunk of credit card debt, and I have a mortgage. And I know you're into consumer credit counseling, which is a scary word for some of us, but credit and counseling together. Yeah. But what is the attitude right now of the card issuers, of the banks, when I'm coming to you and saying, okay, if I could just get some of this credit down, I wouldn't have to foreclose on my home. I could maybe push this off or still afford my home payment if these guys would give me a break. Are these banks working with people considering what they're facing?
Yeah, I think they are. I think for the most part, certainly. One thing you got to realize is that, and what we have success, I'm sure you do as well, as when we go to the bank or lender on behalf of a customer, we act as an intermediary. They take us a little bit more serious than, let's say, the borrower goes directly, because they know that we've taken the time, we've worked out their budget, we see what they can afford. They know that we've taken the right steps, so we can go to that particular lender or servicer and say, hey, this is what we've got. We know this person can't afford X. How about let's do this particular plan. And that certainly helps. And as a free service, you really can't beat that.
And they will reduce the debt owed, because I have heard that sometimes 50 cents on a dollar, whether that's true or not.
I think as far as balance reduction, I haven't seen too much of that.
Okay.
It's more or less trying to get the payment affordable by either lowering the interest rate or extending the term.
Maybe waiving some late fees. I think the other thing that often counselors know is who to talk to. And so many times people get in this frustrating. There's actually on YouTube a congressional office that's spending 2 hours trying to get online with a mortgage servicer.
Wow.
And that runaround is incredibly frustrating. Knowing who to talk to. Now, even when we know who to talk to, it often takes us 3-4 times to get a hold of the right person. But at least you know
who to try to get to. You're saving a lot of steps there.
And we're not sitting there with our heart in our mouths wondering if we're going to lose our home each time we're getting the busy signal or we're sitting on hold on the phone call. So I think that helps as well, knowing who you can talk to, and also, quite frankly, knowing who has what obligation to help you. For instance, Countrywide was part of a lawsuit that the state of Florida joined that said they have to give modifications to their home buyers who are in default. Banks who took TARP money have to offer loan modifications to people who have unaffordable loans that meet certain criteria.
But
people
there's
who
no
have
such
Fannie
notes.
and Freddie, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac as their lenders do.
They automatically.
But people don't even know
But that's
who
what I
owns
want to
it.
ask you. I have one of the aforementioned lenders. I have no notes saying, by the way, we were sued, and you're allowed to get a modification. So even though that's great knowledge that you all hold, and that's why we're doing this show, how would I, the overwhelmed homeowner who's facing massive problems, know, oh, by the way, your lender has to help you modify this? Just education? How?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way they're going to know. To get that education. We hope the media gets involved, obviously, but certainly if they go to a HUD certified counselor, we're going to give them their options. We're going to let them know what they can.
And there are some lenders that will say, yes, we have this, and some lenders have been approaching people. And the latest thing I've heard is actually some lenders have been checking at people's houses, and we've had people call us that were kind of freaked out about that. The reason is that modifications under this new program have to be offered to people who are living in their houses. So there's people that are checking. But when you get the knock on the door that says, I'm from your lender and I want to know if you're here, that's a frightening thing.
Very frightening, but in the lender's defense, we're setting in a place where a lot of people have second homes.
Second, third renting, you don't know who they are.
Right.
Yeah. And they're going to use their resources to save the homes that
people
live
in,
owner-occupied,
which I like to hear. Now, I promise that the last few minutes here, we will talk positively. While this is horrible for people who are losing their homes, if you are a first-time home buyer and you've saved and you've been financially responsible, there are some serious deals out there. The stimulus offers you $8,000 to buy a home to get, obviously the economy going.
What's a tax credit?
Plus a tax
It's
credit.
tax credit afterwards. So
I
all
want
those
my
expenses
director
that
to
come
hear
up.
this because he's a first-time home buyer looking. So I know through him that there are a lot of deals and there are a lot of programs. How do people make sure that they don't get caught up in what's happening now if they're a first-time home buyer?
The same thing that we're saying about the foreclosure you want to do before you buy a home. Talk to a HUD-certified housing counselor so that before you're talking to somebody who's trying to sell you something, you've talked to somebody who's looking at your best interest and saying, how much can I afford? What do I need to do before I get this loan? Get a copy of your credit report. 1 in 3 credit reports have errors on it. All it takes is somebody hitting the wrong social security number to get their information on your credit report. So find it out. You can get it free at annualcreditreport.com, which is through the government. You can work with a counseling agency like either one of us to get it. But find out, is it there? Is it accurate? Are there things you need to take care of?
Okay.
Talk to a housing counselor. Take a homebuyer education class so you know what the process, because buying a home today is not like it was 2 years ago. It's not like it was 10 years ago.
Couldn't be.
We offer a 6-hour class.
And it's well worth the 6 hours.
Well worth it.
Yeah.
It's free. They get a wealth of knowledge. We have speakers come in, in their expert fields from banks and realtors, things of that nature to kind of let them know. And actually, someone told me up in I believe Martin County that they went back and the people that actually attended the class to get the education, very few, little, if any, of those folks ended up in foreclosure.
Really? So they kind of followed it.
We are-
That's awesome.
We are affiliated with NeighborWorks America. We're
Right.
an organization, and they've done nationwide
Yes.
research. And first-time home buyers who received counseling, who receive education, have a much lower default rate because they knew what they were getting into. They understood their mortgage documents. I actually had some people come back and say, I didn't take your counseling and your process because I thought it took too long, and now I'm in foreclosure, and I wish I had.
Really?
Yeah.
Like you explain all those documents because those are quite overwhelming when you're just signing them away there with all your money, your big check sitting there.
And if somebody can't explain that document to you, don't sign it. Trust me, in this market, they'll wait till you understand it.
Absolutely.
But if you are, because I don't want to end on a bad note, if you are facing foreclosure, there's certainly programs out there.
Yes.
Both of you all represent. We'll put
Yes.
all of the information. I know we've given you a lot. We're going to put it up on the screen here at the end. The time to wait, I would think it would be weeks. It's actually days. So the money is coming. As much as we hear stimulus, it's actually here in our own
And it
counties.
actually doesn't cost a whole lot of money because what happens is, ultimately when you get through everything, it makes sense for the lenders to get these loans back on track as well.
Absolutely.
So
Back on
it
track
is
rather
a
than
win-win.
just eating it,
Yeah.
I would think.
And particularly in Florida where housing prices are so low, they lose a lot more money on foreclosure than they do on a modification.
We could go on and on. Next week, another special. Bonnie, Joe, type people here to answer more questions. Thank you both. We're going to put up the websites they talked about. What a wealth of information. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. As we said, here's a few of the websites they talked about. Also on our website, wxel.org. If you click on there, we're going to link you to both Joe and Bonnie, as well as all the information that they spoke about. Again, next Wednesday, April 22nd, another special on this topic. We hope you'll join us. Good night.
The preceding program was brought to you in part by the Community Foundation for Palm Beach and Martin Counties.